Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes are seen as critical for both the Trump and Harris campaigns. John Delano, politics editor with CBS News Pittsburgh, spoke with Vice President Kamala Harris about the top issues for the Keystone State voters, including her stance on the proposed acquisition of U.S. steel by the Japanese company Nippon Steel.
I feel very strongly that U.S. Steel needs to remain a U.S. company, and that the people working there need to be American workers. And I think that is also why I am proud, and I do have the support of the Steelworkers Union, because I just think that when you think about it in terms of a historic American industry, not to mention what it means for the workforce and the economy of Pittsburgh, of Pennsylvania, but also from a national security perspective, it is important that we have U.S. manufacturing of U.S. steel.
And John Delano joins us now. John, it's good to see you again. How have the voters you've talked to reacted to, because this is a part of Vice President Harris's economic message, how have they reacted more broadly to that message?
Well, John, first of all, it's always good to be with you. This whole U.S. Steel thing is emblematic, perhaps, of manufacturing jobs and the importance of manufacturing jobs in Western Pennsylvania, a key part of the strategy for winning Pennsylvania this year. And it's a difficult one because the steel industry, the U.S. Steel Corporation, basically says, if this deal doesn't go through, we may shut down the blast furnaces in the Mon Valley here in the Pittsburgh area, and we might even move the headquarters out of Pittsburgh. And so it's hard to know whether this is just rhetoric and play or whether it really counts for something. But both former President Trump and Vice President Harris are saying the same thing, along with President Biden, on this issue, and that is there will be no deal. The Japanese will not be allowed to buy U.S. steel. With respect to the other economic policies, I think folks in Pennsylvania are really just beginning to get to know what some of those policies are. And they're doing so because they're under assault on campaign commercials that are running on radio, TV, and social media, in which Vice President Harris outlines her plans and is very specific about the things that she will do. But you still find a lot of people who may not be viewing these ads and these promotions saying, what are her policies? Now, it's kind of weird because we don't really know what Trump's policies are, but I think there's a sense that we lived under Trump and it's not going to be any different than it was 4 years ago.
So that's interesting, John, so the ads are what we would call softer ads, which is to say the vice president introducing her policies, not necessarily beating up on her opponent or making some other point.
Yeah, there's a combination, John, because some of them do beat up on Trump. He's for the billionaires. Right. You know, I'm for the middle class. So you do get the contrast. She's trying to make the contrast. And in the course of doing that, she's citing her various programs with respect to housing and the notion of first-time mortgages, small business help, child tax credits. I mean, all of that gets wrapped into these packages so that this ad. So you get a feeling that she stands for something, but I'm not sure yet that it's really sunk in. We'll see. We've got a few more weeks to go, right?
And that's right. And last question, John, is give me your nickel tour of what you see and are taking in from the Trump campaign and how that's being received by the voters you're talking to.
Well, I really think the people that are supporting Donald Trump have been with Donald Trump throughout. You go to certain parts of Western Pennsylvania, his signs are up, and there are very few Harris signs. You go to other parts, and the Harris signs are up. The campaigns themselves basically have a different strategy. There are at least 50 local offices for the Harris campaign. The Trump campaign tells me they have about 24 in Pennsylvania. They don't feel they need them. They have a different strategy for winning, which is basically to bring out the voters who voted for Donald Trump before, particularly in 2016. So I think that I'm not sure how many persuadable voters there are out there. And if they're 5%, obviously that can make a difference in a state where the last two presidential races came to a point or less.
John Delano with CBS News Pittsburgh. Good to be with you again, John.
Always good to be with you, John. Take care.